Allow me to extend to you the Nation of Islam salutation of peace in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, I am deeply honored and I feel such great privilege to be before those people whom the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is teaching us are the original people of the planet Earth. We do not take our presence in front of you lightly, but we are greatly humbled by this such momentous occasion that in a few moments we will be hearing a man not giving a lecture, not giving a speech, but a man delivering a word that those who were dead might be delivered as a result of the word. For the scripture says, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God. And the word was God because God keeps his word. And then it became a light and shined unto the darkness, but the darkness comprehended it not. It went on beyond that, and then the word became flesh, and it dwelt amongst men. But the word never separated itself from God because the word is God. So if the word became flesh, God became flesh. Don't lay that at the door of Louis Farrakhan. God is able to do it all on his own. All praise is due to Allah. We believe God is a man, and that man has come to you and I. The scientists in the East did not believe that he could come and do the work that he has done. The scholars in the East did not see a need for him to come. The opposition in the West did not want him to come, and an ignorant Negro leadership did not know to expect his coming. All praise is due to Allah. Praise is due to Allah. So in the East, they did not see a need. In the East, there was no belief, so there was no entourage or delegation coming with him. In the West, there was opposition, and they did not know he was coming, so there was no welcoming committee in the hells of North America, so he came to North America by himself. All praise is due to Allah. He came to a people that no one believed in. He came to a people that no one sees a need for. He came to a people that everyone is against. He came to a people that no one knew was powerful. If he came by himself for a people who had no one but themselves, what do we look like waiting on somebody to believe in us? If he came by himself, let us get up by ourselves in his name and begin to do the work to help the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah. So I thank you for these few brief moments, and just saying as I close that one of the greatest signs of the black man and woman in America is Samson, for Samson had 7 locks in his hair. If you count the year that we came here in 1555, you add the 1 and the 5, you get a 6. You add the 6 and the 5, you get 11. You add the 11 and the 5, you get a 1 and a 6. Add those two together and you get a 7 because it represents the 7 locks in Samson's hair. But our problem in America is that we have thought that white people were some kind of universal spiritual locksmith, but we don't need a locksmith today. All we ever needed was the key, and we got the key today in the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.
Minister Rodney Muhammad. Minister Rodney Muhammad, Philadelphia, Mosque number 12. That was just the match that's starting the flame, and the heat of the fire will soon follow. I want to acknowledge the mighty MGT captains, the mighty sister instructors that are representing well, not all of the sisters are here, but many of them are. Will you beautiful, beautiful sisters, MGT captains from the various mosques, stand up so your people can see how beautiful you are. Look at the queen. All praise is due to Allah. Thank you. The next brother needs no words of introduction. You know him as a doctor, as that powerful minister tearing up the country from the north to the south, from the east to the west. You know him as Brother Minister Abdul Khalid Muhammad. Let us please receive him.
All praise is due to Allah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the world. I bear witness that regardless to land or label or language, there is but one God. And so we thank God, Allah, for coming as it was written and prophesied that he would come, seeking that which was lost. And we can find no other people fitting the description of the lost brother, the lost sister, the lost sheep, except we, the 50 million or more mentally and spiritually dead black men and women here in the hells of North America. And we thank him for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, his black Messiah in our midst. And we thank both of them for finding one worthy among us, that they could put a double portion of the Spirit into that one, and both of them back him up as the guide for this hour, the champion of the liberation and salvation of the black nation, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet you. Assalamu alaikum. I promise not to be long, but I got to be strong. Our mighty minister from Philadelphia was taxiing on the runway, just getting ready to take off. I'm sure Sister Tynetta will start her taxi and just get ready to take off. But the plane that's taking off here today is the bomber plane from Almighty God, and we'll hear from him in just a few moments. We're not the fire, we are only sparks from the fire to let you know that the fire of God is coming in just a few more moments. All praise is due to Allah. Today we need a leader that will lead us toward an economic save plan for the black man and black woman. For we don't own a brick, a stick, nor a blade of grass. We don't own a rock, a rail, a spike, a spoke, nor a huff or a puff of smoke. We don't own anything today. We have been robbed of a knowledge of speed. A leader that will not lead us to heart attacks and Big Mac attacks and to Mac devils, but we need a leader that will lead us to something of our own. No more White Castle. We need a Black Castle today. All praise is due to Allah. All due to Allah. We need a leader that will guide us toward freedom and independence. My last words. It is written in the scripture that the enemy has taken crafty counsel against God's anointed, chosen people. But it is also written that no weapon formed by the enemy can prosper against the righteous. We fear neither the arrow that flies by day, nor the arrow that flies by night. And so as the government with all of its wicked machinations, begun to rise up to cut us off from our salvation and cut us off from being a nation, we say, black man and woman, you must make a choice today. Because they're now recognizing, as it is written in Revelations 12:12, Satan the devil has come down with great wrath, for he knows that he has but a short time to live. As Prince Hakeem would say, Satan's world is coming down like Babylon. And so I'm like Latifah, I've had it up to here. And I want to hear from someone today who will lead us on the path toward liberation and salvation, because it's either this or that. It's either this or that. And I'm here to tell you today that this is where it's at, because this is the move that you must make today, black man and black woman. And so, in a few moments, we will hear from the messenger of Allah. We will hear from the apostle of Allah. We will hear from the Messiah of Allah. We will hear from that one that God has anointed and appointed for this critical and crucial hour of our liberation and our salvation. So sit back in your seats, chill, buckle your seat belts. He'll be here in just a few. Don't come just telling us he shall overcome, but he will tell us that there's a God with us today and we shall overrun. He won't just come telling us, lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, but he will tell us, yes, lift every voice and sing, but at the same time, with God backing us up, as we lift every voice and sing, lift every fist and swing too. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.
Minister Abdul Khalid Mohammed, what do you think your oppressors and enemy, when they look at this bold, courageous leadership coming from the Nation of Islam under the direction of the man that they fear most, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, can't you see the scriptures being fulfilled? I will not just send one Savior after them. I will send Saviors, plural, after my people. And now to carry us into our program, another hard-working minister of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, all the way from Baltimore, Mosque number 6, where recently the Honorable Louis Farrakhan spoke to over 9,000 of our people. Let us please receive Brother Minister Jamil Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. And in their names, I greet you, my beloved brothers and sisters, here in Mosque Maryam with the greetings of peace and of paradise of Assalamu alaikum. I cannot continue without thanking Allah, who came in the divine person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is forever due. Thanking him and thanking his Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I must thank them for allowing me to live in the day when the fullness of time is upon us, and when the working example of God in the midst of men, filled up with the Spirit of God and working among us today, is the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. I'm thankful, as I know you are thankful, to be living in the day when Farrakhan is doing the work that he is doing. So give yourself a hand for being here at Mosque Maryam this afternoon. I must bear witness to the power of this day, the strength of the hour in which we live, because as those brothers came before you, Brother Rodney and Brother Ishmael and Brother Khaled, as they came before you, I was startled and taken aback by those men that I've known now for decades of time. These men are being filled up with a new spirit that is replacing the good spirit that was there before. There's a better spirit and a more empowerment coming up through them. And to look back up on them is to say all praise is due to the great God for his coming. If you don't believe that God is a man, believe that these men who follow and believe that God is a man, don't you see God in them? Don't you see the power of God in them? The knowledge, the intelligence, the wisdom, the spirit, the resurrection of God in them? So I thank Allah for these brothers and sisters that are assembled here under this roof. But I bring a word of warning this afternoon. I bring to you a word of warning that is from the sincerest depths of my thoughts, because as I watch us now rise into prominence and begin now, as the deck is cleared of all the pretenders to the throne, as I see the Honorable Louis Farrakhan ascending to the place where God has promised him that he would be at the very pinnacle, then you and I must remember the time and do what must be done, so that we do not become history repeaters, but rather we are history beaters. We must not be prophecy repeaters, but we must be prophecy beaters. In the days of Jesus, in the New Testament, in the book of Mark, I believe, there is the story accounted of how these wicked conspirators against the life and work of Jesus wanted to rob Jesus of witnesses in the hour of their frame up. Y'all better listen to what I'm saying this afternoon. They wanted to rob the Jesus of the witnesses of the miracles he had wrought. And so they wanted to kill Lazarus nearly as bad as they wanted to kill Jesus, the man himself. You represent Lazarus. I know that I represent Lazarus. My family of birth is sitting right here in the audience. You know I was Lazarus in the grave, dead, wrapped up in grave clothes. But the voice of Farrakhan said, Lazarus, come forth. And as he called to come forth, you and I must come forth today, but we must not submit to no kind of scheme or game to make us lie on the great fact that he has done for us what he has done. See, I'm not coming to you off a high plane today. I'm just talking person to person. We must bear witness that the man that we're about to hear from that holy rostrum in just a few moments, that is the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, the voice of God in a man on the earth in 1992. Farrakhan is who we must bear witness to. We must bear witness to him. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And so, as I heard from Minister Khalid Abdul Muhammad, as he encouraged us to not only lift every voice and sing, but every fist and swing. As I heard him say that, I was reminded that while one fist is swinging, the other hand can be doing something too. And the something that the other hand needs to be doing is what I'm going to ask you to do now. I'm going to ask you to reach into your pocket. You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. But today we must marry wealth and wisdom. Why should the wisdom of Farrakhan be bereft and devoid of the wealth that is necessary for its implementation? We must now get behind the leadership of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan like we have never been behind it before, and show the enemies who are gathered right under the roof of Mas Mariam with us today, right there in the auditorium. There's some enemies here. We're not under any illusion, but we want the enemy to come in and have a true report to send back that we are united with the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Nothing will divide our unity from him and from each other. So brothers and sisters, the work goes on. The witness continues. The effort strengthens. And now I, like you, will take the advice of Minister Khalid, sit down and buckle up my seatbelt and await the arrival of the man of the hour, the leader of the nation of Islam, the messenger of Allah, Minister Louis Farrakhan. I want to ask you to join me in welcoming back to the rostrum the Honorable Louis Farrakhan's capable assistant here in Chicago at Mosque Mariam, and a son of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in spirit and in lineage, our brother and our friend,
Brother Minister Ishmael Muhammad. Would you welcome him back to the podium?
And now, brothers and sisters, we would like to bring one more person to the rostrum before our leader arrives. Someone that also does not need words of introduction. My dear mother and pillar of strength, Sister Saneter Muhammad. Please welcome her to the rostrum.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, and to Him alone do we worship. And to Him alone do we beseech for help. Allah came to the black man and the woman in the wilderness of North America, not as a spirit, nor as a spook, nor as the sound of voices that you hear, or in a vision, or in a dream. But He came in the flesh and the blood manifest image of a man. And that man is Master Farrakhan Muhammad, the great Mahdi, the one that the whole world has been looking for. He is the one who came to the black man and the black woman and the black people in the wilderness of North America first. And He worked among us from 1930 until 1934, and He left us. But He did not leave us alone. He worked in those 3.5 years to fill one with His Spirit, with His mind, and with His divinity. And I am speaking of none other than the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, our Savior and Deliverer. So, all praise is due to Allah. And after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad worked with the black mud, the essence of the black man and woman here in America, for 44 years. And then he left in 1975. And he, like his master, did not leave us alone. He prepared one that he gave to us as a son, as a counselor, as a wonderful friend, as a divine guide, to guide us through this turbulent period, crises of the end of the world. And I am speaking of none other than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So, my beloved brothers and sisters, if Almighty God Allah came and blessed us twice, 3 times, do you think that He will leave us in the lurch? Do you think that He will not make Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan successful? We do not see Master Farrakhan Muhammad today, do we? Nor do we see the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in their flesh and blood form. But we see one in the flesh and blood who is being backed by both Master Farrakhan Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I wish to say, as I am beholding such beauty in front of me, both black men and black women, that one of the greatest gifts and one of the greatest divine messages that was given to our people to awaken us and bring us back into the full knowledge of self is that we are part and parcel of the Godhead. That as you look into the face of every black man, and as we look into the face of every black woman, we are looking into the face of God Almighty. So let us rejoice today, though it appears that the earth is bursting out of its seams with all kinds of devastations, contaminations, pollutions, viruses, droughts, earthquakes, all kinds of calamities. Even though we are being, I would say, almost submerged in all kinds of disasters, let us not fear, because God Almighty is in our presence today to deliver us and to take us out of hell and to bring us into his new world kingdom. And as Minister Louis Farrakhan comes before us this afternoon with a message to save our lives, let us remember, as the Holy Quran tells us in Surah 9, verses 32 and 33, they desire to put out the light of Allah with their mouths. Who are the they? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is going to answer that question today. They desire to put this truth, this light that Almighty God Allah has given us to shine forth with the reality of God. But it says Allah will allow nothing save the perfection of his light, though the disbelievers are adverse. He, Allah, it is who sent his messenger with guidance and the religion of truth, that he may cause it to prevail over all religions, though the polytheists be averse. So fear not, black man and black woman, we are the gods of the universe. And Almighty God Allah is with us to the end, to win the battle and to claim the victory over our enemies. Thank you. May Allah bless you. As I greet you, Assalamu alaikum.
Sister Saneter Muhammad, how's everyone? All in anticipation, anxiously awaiting. Well, it is my honor to bring before the rostrum my brother, Minister Rasul Muhammad from Mosque Number 1 in Detroit, Michigan, who will introduce the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Let us please receive Brother Minister Rasul Muhammad from Detroit, Michigan.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God in existence but Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is his exalted Christ, and Minister Louis Farrakhan, the embodiment of that force and power among us right now. I greet you in the nation's greetings in the Arabic language that means peace, of Assalamu alaikum. You might ask, why is it that we are always so fired up? You don't realize how much of an excitement it is to actually know that you are not in the days of a prophet, that you are not in the days of a messenger, but you are in the day of God himself. So when you look at Louis Farrakhan, you are better off and more privileged than if you had walked with Moses. When you are looking and listening to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, you're more privileged and more blessed than if you were walking with Jesus 2,000 years ago. You may ask why and what can make me say such a black bodacious statement as that. Well, that's because I know that God is here. And when God is here, everything yesterday don't really make too much difference at this point. God is present. I'm excited. I'm talking smooth because I'm learning to be diplomatic. But I'm excited. God is here. Do you understand? And if you understand that God is present, then what does that mean to you? If I'm saying that we're not in a time of a prophet, see, if we're in a time of a prophet, that means somebody will be prophesying of something still yet to come. That means you got some more time to still be nothing but a Negro. Huh? I'm saying that we're in the time of God. Huh? I found something very interesting in my studies. Very interesting of how there's this Muslim scholar who, by the name of Abu Allah Maududi, who writes in a book entitled Islamic Law and Constitution, that it is a prerequisite, he says, in the faith of Islam for a Muslim to strive towards the establishment of a separate state or territory that is under the authority of the sovereign God Allah. It would appear that when the Nation of Islam calls for a separate state or territory we can call our own, if freedom, justice, and equality is not practiced among us as a people, it would appear that 1 billion Muslims would back that concept. It would appear that that would be so. Even once we have recognized the greatest example of a separate state and territory in this century was in the establishment in 1947 of Pakistan within the country of India. Huh? Because they found that they could not effectively practice the tenets of their faith as long as they had to be in respect or under the authority of a government that did not respect the reality, which is the only reality, which is God himself. So if you find yourself today in the belly of the most wicked and corrupt government on the face of the earth, then what kind of call do you think God's man would be calling the people to do today? The mission of a man of God is not just to elevate the conscience and the spiritual conscience of mankind. The mission of a man of God is to reconstruct a society wherein God can live. Do you understand? Where God can live. I don't want to ever go back. I don't want to ever go back to the worshiping of some piece of wood. I don't want to ever go back to rubbing on barks of trees. I don't want to ever go back to being a sucker for leadership. I want to be growing into a time where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, every time you look at a black man, you're looking at God. What that means is that in every black man and woman, you're looking at a vessel wherein force and power is in action. Huh? Oh, we ain't dumb today. We quite smart. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, God's man. Actually, there is not really a title in the English language that is big enough and descriptive enough of the powerful man we have as our leader and teacher. I don't want you to make the mistake as to underestimate, because you can never overestimate God since you have not known God for so long. I remember the words of a statesman by the name of Henry Kissinger, who said, in terms of success in government is measured or determined by the ability of a government to bring forth a new reality. The white man's government is successful because it has brought forth a new reality, not only on these shores, but beyond these shores. It has transfigured the world and its people. The power of God today, brothers and sisters, dear family of God, children of the living God, if we were to measure success to the leader, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, it must be judged and measured and determined by the visual effect of that bringing forth a new reality, but it must first start with you. Huh? I don't want to be a cheering squad today. I want to be evidence that God is here. I want to be evidence that God is successful here by the transformation and transfiguration of myself. In the program of self-development by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the living exalted Christ of God, the first point is separate yourself from the slave master. Some of you thought that since you separate yourself from white folks, you separated yourself from the slave master. The slave master is every attribute that has made up a weak character that is still keeping you from committing yourself fully to become a part of the success of God's presence among us today. Separate yourself from the slave master. Separate yourself from those things that have kept you on the level that the world still calls you today a nigger. And rise above the emotions that your condition will bring about into the mind and thinking of God. And if you listen objectively today to the words of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, I promise you that many degrees of growth will your brain achieve today if you just allow the words to sink in and have effect on you. Every time I listen to my leader, I'm reborn. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said fasting should be practiced as long as you are in an unrighteous society. And fasting is not just from food. It's the abstinence from all those things that keep you away from the reality of God. We have a man who is not only qualified, but a vessel through which God himself is exercising judgment. That's a very powerful man. So obedience to him is nothing for us to be asked of. Huh? You have a leader you can trust, a leader who loves you, backed by a God that loves you, and has been searching for you and has found you and has been working for you and backing you for 62 years. And it's not over yet. What do you think about that? Muslims, are you in here? Well, all these ministers quiet over here. I'm not talking, I don't think I was doing into no Baptist sermon. We talking about the day of God. Everybody kind of silent here. Can you hear me pretty well? All right. Well, I know I'm not giving a Baptist sermon here, so since we waiting on our leader, and he'll be here any minute now, and I know I'm not the only witness bearer in this house. Huh? I'm looking to hear from those who back the leader. Thank you. That's right. He's here. He's here. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Louis Farrakhan.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God to whom all praise is due, the Lord of the worlds, came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, the great Mahdi, the one who was to come and indeed has come. We thank him for raising up in our midst a divine leader, teacher, and guide, a man that the world has been looking for 2,000 years.
Yes, sir.
They sought him in the east, but he was born in the west.
Yes, sir.
The wise have seen his star,
Yes, sir.
and are now journeying to the west,
Yes, sir.
to see the baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A baby nation in the midst of a beast.
Yes, sir.
We thank Allah for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I greet all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum, which of course means peace be unto you. I'm sorry that I missed so much of the fire of these wonderful helpers of mine in the cause of Allah. I know I missed a lot, but I thank you. Minister Khalid, Brother Minister Rodney, Brother Minister Rasul, Brother Minister Ishmael, and Sister Minister Instructress Saneter Muhammad, and Brother Jamil.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for your wonderful words, and thank you for a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, sir.
I want to get right to the point. The United States of America is about to come under the divine chastisement of God. And the government of the United States of America is about to make an attack on the Muslims. The world knows Allah, God, by name. In fact, even before the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was born, the name Allah was known among the people. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, with the revelation of the Holy Quran, brought to us the 99 names of Allah, the most perfect of them being Allah. There is no real translation for the name Allah, but if one were to translate it, it would mean the one true God. All of the righteous names of God belong to him. All of the names that we call on, they are good names, but each of them describes an aspect of the God. But the best name to give him is Allah, for it encompasses all of the good names. Jehovah is a good name. Yahweh is a good name. The omnipotent is a good name. The beneficent, the merciful, the powerful, the mighty, the wise, the truth, the forgiving, the destroyer, all of these are good names of God. But Allah, that is the name that encompasses all of the good names. But what we have not known, we have not known the person of God. We know his name, we know his attributes, but we've never seen him. He has remained unseen, but he is known through what is seen. We see the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, the worlds that Allah created, but we don't see him. Everything that testifies to his greatness is physical, but the unseen power behind this physical manifestation, we have not seen him. The prophets have heard his voice. He has spoken to them according to the scriptures. He spoke to them. They heard his voice in their ears. He revealed to his servants, the prophets, the Torah, the gospel, the Quran. And according to the Holy Quran, every nation has received a messenger. Every nation has received a warner. Every people have received somebody from the God that has guided them, taught them, warned them, united them, purified them. Even to the Native Americans, there have been great ones coming up among the Native Americans called Indians that gave them vision and guidance and tried to unite them. But the God who has made all of this reality has not been seen. So we don't know him. We know his name. We feel his spirit, but we don't know him. I like the voice of Mariah Carey. You know, I heard her voice on the record. I said, what a beautiful voice. What range she has. But though I heard her voice, I never knew the face. But I felt her spirit. But it's nothing like seeing the person in person. So when a star appears, you know, and you hear about Michael Jackson, or you hear about a great one, but when they come to your town and you see the words live and in person, then you go and get your ticket and stand in line to see that star. Well, what if somebody told you God was live and in person? What if somebody told you that stand in line, you can see God, you can touch him, you can get acquainted with him. He's real, he's live. We've known his name, we've felt his spirit, we've basked in his wisdom, we've been birthed into his creation, but we've never met him, but now we can see him live and in person. Wouldn't that be something? But anybody could stand up and say, here I am. There's all kind of Michael Jackson imposters. But there's something about the imposter when the real thing comes. The imposter just has to sit down. You have many look-alike Michaels, but there ain't but one Michael. Pardon my language, there is not but one. They have many look-alike Michael Jordans, but there is not but one. You may have many playing God, but there is only one. He's unique, he's incomparable, he's matchless. There's none like him. Now listen. Isn't it interesting that the Arabic language is one of the most mathematically precise languages in creation? One little dot over a word changes the meaning. And every word has so many different shades of meaning. It is a mathematically precise language. But when it comes to describing God, it seems to be lost for some reason because it keeps using pronouns. Like I, like me, like him, and he. Well, wait a minute. If God is not like you and me, why call him he? Give a more descriptive, mathematically precise way of talking about God. Don't say him, we might make a mistake. Don't say he, we might make a mistake. Don't say I, we might make a mistake. But the book says God sees, but he doesn't have eyes. God hears, but he doesn't have ears. God talks, but he doesn't have vocal cords. God's arm, the book says, is not too short that it cannot save, but it's really not talking about an arm. But the arm is just used to describe the power of this physical member of our body, that it is an arm and it supports me. So God's arm is his power. But how does he manifest his power? He manifests it through physical creation. Is that right? Well, God must be known today. There would come a time when we wouldn't have to guess about God anymore. There would come a time that God God would make himself known and you could see him live and in person and in living color. Now, you know, people do a lot of things to make themselves known. When I was in show business, all of us lived to be known. Most people in show business don't want money, they just want to be known. So others get the money and they get known. That's why most of our show people die broke and their managers die rich. Because our people just wanted to be known, just wanted to be seen, just wanted to be heard. Now, in order to get known in this world, you got to do something different. And what you do different has to be appealing to the mass. Mariah Carey has a different sound. She has a beautiful voice, but she does the things that Minnie Riperton used to do. But she does it even a little better. So when you make manifest her gift, people hear it and say, I never heard anything quite like that before. Wow, this is great. Get known. Never seen anybody, you know, play ball like Michael. I mean, his predecessor, Dr. J, was wonderful. And after Dr. J retired, we never thought we'd see someone like that again, but we just keep producing, you know, greatness out of our ranks. So Michael can go up under the basket, jump up, scoop, and then, you know, change hands in midair and dunk, and does all those wonderful things. So everybody's talking about Michael because he does something different. That's how you get known. Some of us want to get known so bad, we get strange. We'll wear shoes that are 16 feet tall. Walk around on stilts. Y'all see me? You can't see me, I see you. Look up, I'm up over you, I'm 16 feet. People do crazy things just to be seen. They want to be known. I've seen people carry tables in their jaw, sit fat women on the table and then sit down and pick the table up. I said, now that's something unusual. That'll get you known, all right. I've seen the fat woman in the carnival. Used to call her Baby Emma, over 500 pounds. And she would come out with a garment, looked like an elephant was on one thigh and a rhinoceros was on the other. And she would do a little move and breathe heavy and flop down. I'm a little tired. But she got known, you know. I used to go see the tattooed lady. There was a man that was 8 foot tall. We had never seen anything like that. But you got to be different in order to be known. Well, God said in the Bible, he wanted to make himself known. Well, God, why do you want people to know you? Since you've been hiding from us so long, why do you want people to know you? He said, because it is time now that all false gods be set down. That everything that the people worship that is not God has to fail them. All my servants that they call on beside me, everything that they bow down to and worship beside me, I have to destroy their confidence in all gods, lest I got to make myself known that worship in this day will be only and solely for me. It is time now that all false gods be set down, that everything that the people worship that is not God has to fail them. All my servants that they call on beside me, everything that they bow down to and worship beside me, I have to destroy their confidence in all gods, lest I got to make myself known that worship in this day will be only and solely for me. Well, if God wants to make himself known, then he has to create a problem that no man can solve. He has to create a force that no man can deal with. And then he allows the problem to intensify so that the world's attention is on the problem. And he allows the force to become so great that the world's attention will be on the force that is so powerful, so awe-inspiring, so unable to be dealt with. Then God will enter, live and in person, and say, now the problem cannot be solved. Come scholars, come scientists, come all of you with knowledge, deal with this. And when they wring their hands and say it's too great, we can't handle it, he raises a force that is so powerful. He says, come powerful men, come angels, come anybody, deal with this force. And they all bow down and say, I can't deal with it, it's too much for me. Then he comes out of the wings. But before he comes out of the wings, he does the impossible. He takes weakness and casts it against strength. He hides himself and then takes a weak thing to face a strong thing, and the strong thing can't uproot the weak thing because he's upholding the weak thing. Finally, when he gets the world's attention just where he wants it, then he makes his grand move. And he destroys the indestructible. And he corrects the insolvable problem. And then stands alone, that the world may know that God is God, that he's alive, he's in the world, and that all worship this day will be for him. Now let's move on. You have a Bible. Let's listen. You have a Bible full of prophecies about the day in which we live. You have a Holy Quran full of prophecies about the day in which we live. We have the sayings of the prophets about the day in which we live. Things are happening that are so awe-inspiring. So in the Quran, in the 22nd chapter called Al-Hajj, the pilgrimage, it reads, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, O people, keep your duty to your Lord. Surely the shock of the hour is a grievous thing. The day you see it, wait just a minute. It is a reflexive pronoun. It is reflecting back on something. But what is the something? Surely the shock of the hour is a grievous thing. The day you see it giving suck will forget her suckling. Well, that's poetic language, meaning every woman nursing a baby is going to forget the baby that she's nursing. Now that's got to be a heck of a thing that you're going to see. A mother who is nursing a baby, it appears, can never forget her baby. The baby goes with her everywhere she goes because she's nursing that baby. But this shock of the hour will be so great, every woman having a baby that she's nursing will forget about her baby. And every pregnant one will lay down her burden. That must be something. That you are having a baby, 2nd month, 3rd month, 4th month, 5th month, 6th month. But when you see what you're about to see, it will be so grievous that every woman who is pregnant, every animal that is pregnant, every bird that is pregnant, everything that is pregnant will lay down the burden. That's something. The Quran goes on, and you will see men as drunken, yet they will not be drunk. But the chastisement of Allah will be severe. Now, the word in Arabic that is used here to describe the shock of the hour is a word in Arabic called zalzala, which means originally he put him in a state of commotion or agitation, or he cast terror into his heart by means of war, trial, difficulty, and affliction. The shock of the hour. See, brothers and sisters, you're not going to straighten up on any word from me. Just the better ones of you. You're not going to hear no warning. No. Bush is not going to straighten up. Deng Xiaoping is not going to straighten up. The world leaders are bent on their course. They don't straighten up with no preaching. The shock of the hour has to be so powerful that it casts terror into the heart. Make you drop to your knees like the oxen that is being laid under burden. Force you to pray to whatever God you think you know, make you call him. And among men is he who disputes about Allah without knowledge. See, that's the whole problem. Whole problem is we're disputing over who God is, what God is. So God has to make you know who he is by making such a shock in the hour that you know whoever produced the shock has to be the God. Stop you in your rebellion. Stop you in your wild career. Stop you in your foolishness. Stop you in your filth and indecency and debauchery. Stop you in your drug addiction and your AIDS addiction. Stop you in your wildness. The shock gets so great you can't function. It's like that earthquake that hit California the other day. People getting ready for a festival. But when the earth starts shaking, you can't think about festival. The musician can't crank up his music. The dancers can't dance. The marchers can't march. The hoes can't hoe. The pimps can't pimp. The hustlers can't hustle. The dope dealers can't deal no dope. Everybody comes in contact with their weakness. They come in contact with their inability to deal effectively with the hour. That's what an earthquake will do. It humbles you right away. Immediately you say, oh God. And by whatever name you call him, you learn it real quick. But whoever you're calling on that power that is behind that you know you didn't start nor can you end. And among men is he who disputes about Allah without knowledge and follows every rebellious devil. For him it is written down that whoever takes him for a friend, he will lead him astray and conduct him to the chastisement of the burning fire. Oh people, coming back to you again, and me and us, if you are in doubt about the resurrection, then surely we created you from dust, then from a small life germ, then from a clot, then from a lump of flesh, complete in make and incomplete, that we may make clear to you. And we cause what we please to remain in the womb till an appointed time. God is talking. You ain't got nothing to do with this mother. You want the baby, but Allah says we cause to remain in your wombs what we please till an appointed time. And if it doesn't please us, we abort your pregnancy. And you can't do nothing about it. He says, we bring you forth as babies, then that you may attain your maturity. And of you is he who is caused to die. And of you is he who is brought back to the worst part of life, so that after knowledge he knows nothing. Some of you attain maturity as you are mature people in front of me. Then you die in your maturity. But some of you will get old, and after knowing, you will act as though you know nothing. You become senile. Then he makes a strange comparison. He says, you see the earth barren, and we send down water thereon. It stirs and swells and brings forth a bountiful growth of every kind. That is because Allah, he is the truth. What do you mean, Allah, he is the truth? Why can't you just say Allah is the truth? Why did you have to make an appositive here? You say Allah, then you have a comma, and you want to drive your point home. He is the truth. He gives life to the dead. And check this out. He is possessor of power over all things, and the hour is coming There is no doubt about it. And Allah will raise up those who are in the graves. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking all these cemeteries are going to just open up and people going to, no, brother, no, no, sister, no, no. Well, I thought I was going to see my mama again. No, no, sweetheart. No, 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 no. No. The grave here is something different. The shock of the hour is for people who are living. The dead can't feel the shock. The pregnant woman that's going to lay down her burden, there's no pregnant woman in the grave that's going to throw the baby up out of 6 feet. There's nobody dead going to be moving like they're drunk because they're still and frozen in death. So it's not talking about the dead in those kind of graves. The hour is coming. There is no doubt about it. And Allah will raise up those who are in the graves. And among men is he who disputes about Allah without knowledge. It comes right back to that theme. And without guidance. And without an illuminating book. Turning away haughtily to lead men astray from the way of Allah. For him is disgrace in this world, and on the day of resurrection we shall make him taste the punishment of burning. This is for that which thy 2 hands have sent before, and Allah is not in the least unjust to his servants. Now, what is an hour? An hour is a segment of time. The hour contains 60 minutes. And the minute contains 60 seconds. So when you break the hour down, you have 60, 60, and 6. The hour is coming. Whose hour? If you open the book of Revelations, it tells you, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. For the number of the beast is the number of a man, 666. The hour is coming. The hour here represents war, chastisement, affliction, trial. The earth now is breaking out in little wars all over the earth. The people in Croatia, the people in Serbia, the people in White Russia, the people in Uzbekistan, the people in Tajikistan, the people in Kazakhstan, the Armenians and the Christians and the Muslims at odds, the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims at odds, the Catholics and the Protestants in Ireland at odds, terrorizing. People walking in cars blow up, hotels blow up, airplanes blow up, terrorism, terror coming into the heart, but that's only small-time stuff. These are what you call preludes to the big act that is about to go down. Listen. There are over 43 wars going on the earth right now. Central America, South America, Asia, the Middle East, Africa, wars. There's famine. There's pestilence. People dying. Whole villages, tribes dying with AIDS. Drought in Africa. The desert is getting wider and greater. The Sahara is now expanding. Not sometimes due to natural disaster, but due to man-made disaster. Huh? America and Russia were locked in struggle. Y'all all right? America and Russia locked in struggle, and America says she's going to force Russia's economy to break up by constantly putting more and more money into arms. So much of the American budget has gone to the arms merchants, making new aircraft carriers. Cost $1 billion. New airplanes, even testing them, costing hundreds of millions of dollars. New tanks, new rockets, using the latest technology, computer technology, electronics technology, going out in space with their rockets blowing up, and their satellites malfunctioning, causing more and more expenditure of wealth. The Russians trying to keep up. More navy, more submarines, more nuclear weapons, spreading the nuclear weapons out over the vast union of Soviet socialist republics. And all of a sudden, Gorbachev comes up. And Gorbachev wants to modernize and revolutionize Russia. He's a bold man. He's a man of vision. But before Gorbachev, the Cold War had the third world in a position where the non-aligned nations could play East against West for their own development and betterment. So Russia had some client states, and America had client states. China and Russia were once friends. Then their friendship broke. But nobody, if you excuse the expression, mess with China. 1,200,000,000 Chinese. They got so many Chinese, it's against the law in China to have more than one baby per family. If you have more than one baby, you got to pay a fine. Now, whenever you get that kind of percentage, you have to ask yourself, what is the square mileage of China? And how many can China safely support from the earth under their feet? When you got 1,200,000,000 people, how much acreage must you have under cultivation to feed 1,200,000,000 people? China is already overpopulated and must expand. Japan, let's talk about a minute. The shock of the hour is coming. and you're smack dab in the middle of it. Nobody in this audience will get away. Nobody in Chicago, in New York, in LA, in Georgia, in Mississippi, you're not getting away. White or black, Hispanic, I don't care what your color is, you're not getting away from this. This is the hour all your madness is going to cease. You ain't got long. Japan, over 120 million people on the little island of Nippon. They don't have enough land to take care of their 120 and more million people and growing. Japan has to find areas in the world that she can help to cultivate, to feed her people. Her shipping trawlers are in the waters of every sea, gathering fish to bring back to Japan. So much so that Japan's fishing trawlers are in constant conflict with nations that are saying that Japan is encroaching upon their waters. Korea, the Asian people are having an awful lot of babies. Taiwan used to be called Formosa. It just about populated that island. People looking for expansion. We need more territory. When you need more territory, then the weak take over, are taken over by the strong. This is why Jesus prophesied wars and rumors of war, and nation rising against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And this is just the beginning of sorrows. Then there will be famine and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Then brother is going to deliver up brother. There'll be all kinds of schemes and betrayals and in the family, among the very people who are supposed to be working for the same cause. The enemy will be able to come in and buy one out and make him turn against the other. Buy a husband or a wife out and make him turn against the husband or the wife. Buy a brother out and make him turn against his family. This is the time that you're living in. Then the affection of the people will become strange, and the natural affection will be turned into something unnatural. And women will be lying down with women, and men lying down with men, working that which is unseemly. This is the time we're living in. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. It's leading to a conclusion. It's leading to the shock of the hour. Let's look now. America spends so much money on arms, Russia trying to keep pace. Gorbachev with perestroika, glasnost, trying to open up Russia. But that's a big revolutionary idea undertaken at a time when the world cannot afford that change in Russia. The Russians couldn't handle it, and those client states dependent on Russia couldn't handle it. The Russian economy now ruined. Can't help Cuba. Can't help Nicaragua. Can't help its client states in Africa. Can't help its client states in the Middle East, Assad of Syria, had a friendship pact with Russia, so that when Pan Am Flight 101, I think it was, 103, surely man is in loss, the 103rd surah of the Quran. Anyway, at first they said it was the Syrians. But the Syrians were a client state of Russia, so they couldn't attack Syria without bringing Russia into war with them. So Reagan put it on Libya, because even though Libya is revolutionary, Libya is not tied to Russia. It had friendship, but not a friendship pact. So Reagan bombed Libya, charging him with the discotheque thing. But they never charged Libya with the Pan Am bombing until just recently. We'll get to that in a minute. All of a sudden, in the twinkling of an eye, we watched Europe, Eastern Europe, just blow up. Powerful leaders that looked like they had control. And in the communist countries, they got control of a state-run television, state-run press. So all means of communication and ideas are controlled by the state. But another power was moving among the masses. And the masses rose up. So week after week, you see a new government falling, another one falling, another one falling. Finally, the whole Russian thing began to break up. And in shock, America said, woke up one day, and there was no more Russia. You remember when the Shah of Iran was here visiting with Jimmy Carter? Yes, sir. And tear gas was coming up on the lawn? And in a matter of less than a year, the Shah was gone? The revolution started with a tape and cassette recorder, just spreading the word by tape. And all of a sudden, the leaders didn't have power no more to deal with the masses, because the masses were listening to another voice. And before you knew it, the masses shook and governments came down. Now Russia's gone. The Soviet Union, as we know it, gone in the what? Twinkling of an eye. You don't think that could happen to America, do you? You've been sold a bill of goods, and you bought it, that America's invincible. You don't believe that there's no power able to deal with her. You're almost right. Not quite right, but almost right. When Russia fell and broke up, Secretary of State Baker started moving throughout the world, talking to every nuclear power, trying to bring them in line with certain protocols. Russia, White Russia, and Boris Yeltsin, the new president, went along with Bush and Baker but he couldn't solidify his own military machinery. So among the Muslims, for the first time in Kazakhstan, are hundreds of strategic nuclear weapons. And while all the other republics decided to give up their nuclear weapons, the Muslims said, no, we're not giving up ours. Now, for the last 15 years, you've been picking up your newspaper every day and reading about Muslim this, Muslim that, Hezbollah this, Party of God that, Mujahideen this, huh? But Islam has been put on your mind. You don't know yourself or Muslims yet. You think Muslims are terrorists. Well, the only time a righteous person will terrorize you is if you've done something to anger the righteous and the righteous intend to take care of business with you, then they'll terrorize you. Allahu Akbar. I'm almost finished. This kind of, wait. I'm gonna say this. You know, this kind of teaching is frightening, you know. You meet a man, he seems so sweet. I am. But when it comes to this, see, I don't even know the man myself. My wife don't know me. This ain't the man that she sleep with. That's why when I get up in this, my wife look at me, you see awe in her face. Because this is not the man she married to. Something else is going on. That's a fact. This man you have to get acquainted with. The hour. Russia's gone. The Muslims have strategic atomic weapons. Iran, which had a chance to build up during America's attack on Iraq, now is moving closer to those Muslim republics in Russia that have the strategic nuclear weapons. China's quiet. Baker went over to China to pull China in. China said, ain't nothing happening. And Baker left with his tail between his legs and came back, and you haven't heard too much. Let's leave the Chinese alone. But they're about to get very active. Surely the shock of the hour. It's a grievous thing. White folks in trouble. I just till it comes straight to the point. The white man is in serious trouble. And let me tell you something. Every one of you that line up with the white man, you're in trouble, man. You're in trouble. All of you that put your eggs in his basket, you're in trouble. Because your master is in trouble. He's in serious trouble. Now let's get right to the crystallization of all of this. With Russia's economy broken, the poor third world nations that relied on that conflict between East and West, their nakedness is exposed now. So everybody is like, you remember in Godfather 1? When the old Don died and Michael took over, and everybody wasn't quite aware of Michael's sagacity, tenacity, and desire to kill his enemies. And when the heads of all the 5 families were wiped out, that's when you saw everybody coming, kissing his ring. The new Don had been born. Well, when Russia went down, the Soviet Union went down, you find everybody coming to kiss Bush's ring. 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 And Bush now is the most powerful leader in the world. And America, without a doubt, is the only game in town. White folk in America riding high. Ain't no more Russia. We got this thing. Now, all our enemies, we're going to deal with them. Even though Noriega sold dope at my command. Even though Noriega let dope in the country at my command. He messed up. Take out the stealth bombers, go down and get him. They brought him back to America in chains, tried him in Miami, found him guilty, and Bush said justice has been done. Daniel Ortega, the Sandinista leader of Nicaragua, he wanted to get close to Reagan and Bush, and they sold him on the idea of democracy. You have a vote in your country, and if you win the election and you win it fair and square, we will accept you. So he said, okay, democracy. So he had an election, and the Americans went down through the CIA with millions of dollars, and he's out. And Violeto Chamorro is in, and white folks say, well, good, we're going to rule through her, but great dissatisfaction is in Nicaragua. When he took Noriega out, Noriega was a dark man. If he came and walked on 63rd and Cottage, or he walked on the west side, the Mexican brothers would say, one of us. If he walked among the mulattoes, they say, he one of us. If he walked on 63rd and Cottage, they say, yo, baby, he's one of us. Even though he played ball with white America, he didn't play ball all the way. See, when you get in white folks' game and you start ratting on your people, you can't all of a sudden get religion. Because when you get religion, he'll get you. So Noriega out of the way, Daniel Ortega out of the way, and they're moving on Castro. Now, Bush is so powerful, he got Prime Minister Major in Britain and the President of France, Mitterrand. Let's get Libya. So all of a sudden now, they fabricate some evidence, and I put evidence in quotes, that Libya is responsible for the Pan Am bombing. So they say to Gaddafi, give us these two men to be tried. Like they gave him Noriega to be tried. You're going to get a fair trial. Black folk, we know about fair trials, don't we, brothers? We know about these fair trials. Ask Mike Tyson about a fair trial in Indiana. You get the wrong person representing you, buddy, you're out of here. Anyway, as you look at this now, Bush has put through the UN sanctions on Libya. He really got control now over the Security Council. Yes, sir. He's making the Security Council bow to the political will of the United States. He's moved in Africa. In Ghana, Flight Lieutenant Rollins have one party there. He's in power. He seized power 10 or 12 years ago. He's still in power. But in order for him to, quote unquote, make it and get any kind of funding, they said to Rollins, you got to step down and have an election. So Rollins said, well, I'll do it. I think I can win an election. I'll step down. Arap Moi of Kenya, who has always been the friend of Israel and America, said, I don't want more than one party. There ain't gonna be no democracy. And all America did was unleash propaganda against him in his own country, turning his people against him. And when he saw a revolution coming, he said, okay, okay, America, I'll have democracy. Babangida in Nigeria is about to step down and have elections. Nigeria, the most populous African nation, and potentially the strongest African nation, potentially one of the wealthiest African nations, so full of corruption. America is holding out the promise that through the World Bank and the IMF, if you play ball and become democratic, which means I go in with the taxpayers' dollars and I buy my man in power in every nation in Africa. And everyone that won't bow, will overturn them, will kill them. Saddam Hussein, they want him dead. They want Gaddafi dead. Rafsanjani in Iran, he's trying to mellow. Only one they don't talk about too much is China. Now let's see what's really happening. The Jews in America have always had power. They don't care who's elected. They run the show. The Federal Reserve Bank, if it lowers the interest rate, it affects the stock market. We always thought that the Federal Reserve Bank was owned by the government and the people of the United States of America. We did not know that the Federal Reserve Bank is a privately owned corporation that prints the money that we spend. Oh yes, let's talk about it. Showdown time. Owned by Jews. They print your money. They can tighten it. What's the matter? You don't like that? You hear Jews when they argue. You say, we own the banks. We don't own any banks. The banks are owned by the WASPs, the Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Yeah, they may own them little banks, but at the bank, all. It was Rothschild who said, whoever makes the laws, I don't care, as long as we control the money. Well, here we are. If you look at your dollar bill, they say money talks. But we never did understand what it says. But it's talking. If you have a dollar bill in your pocket, you may just take it out. I won't take it from you. I just take it. If you look, it has Georgie on the cover. On the $1 bill. Because he's number one. He's the first president. He's a Shriner. He has 32 or 3 degrees of masonry. You look on the back of the dollar, you see a pyramid with a missing block at the top, called a capstone, I think. And you have an all-seeing eye in a pyramid of its own, looking for the capstone. I'm sure he spied it. Over on the other side, you have an eagle, which is a bird of prey. It has arrows in one claw and an olive branch in the other, talking peace and ready for war. He have 9 feathers in his tail. I think it's 13 arrows. Check it out. That unlucky number for white folks. These 9 feathers in his tail. See, that's what gives you your tail is what gives you your balance. Those 9 feathers represent the 9 Supreme Court justices. And it's a very increasingly conservative Supreme Court that's against you, brother and sister. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 white stripes and 6 red here. Come to 13 again. Then above it, in a sort of like a halo-like thing, you have 13 stars. And if you could draw in, starting the top star, down and then across and then up, and then The 4 stars right under the 1, if you could draw a line across and then down, you'd see a Star of David. See, the real Israel has never been over there. Run, y'all all right? Don't leave me now. Are y'all all right? Now look at how this thing winds up. It was natural for this Israel to help that Israel. You think the Jews are a minority here, but minority is only numerical. 1 could be a minority, 9 or 10, but if 1 got the power, then the 9 others that are number to 1 make no difference. It's where the power is. You understand that, don't you? Now let's go on. We're having a nice time. Now, if you notice, who goes up on the hill to talk about the economy? Mr. Greenspan. And before Mr. Greenspan, it was who? Paul Volcker. Spell it. But he's one of the Klan, ain't he? That's my point. They run the money picture. You need to get a book that details how the Federal Reserve Bank came into existence. The boys that print your money, that's the real power. They got us killing each other over this. Selling out our future over this. Jews set up the communist camp. Karl Marx was a Jew. Jews set up democracy or capitalism. You really democracy? Break it down and show you what it means. You want democracy? You got democracy. What is democracy? Let's break the word down. Democracy. You got it? D-E-M-O-C-R-A-C-Y. Pardon me. I only went to the 3rd grade. Democracy. That is an English word that has its root in Greek. So in order to understand the real meaning of democracy, you got to go to Greek. So the word demo comes from the Greek word demos. And krasi comes from the Greek root kratis, K-R-A-T-I-S. Demos, kratis. When you bring it up into Latin, it becomes demon, D-E-M-O-N, C-R-A-C-I, krasi. Then they drop the N and change the I to a Y, and you get democracy. Well, demos kratis and democracy means the rule not of the people, but the rule of the devil. Democracy. So when they say, we want democracy in Africa, we want the rule of the devil, not the rule of the people. They have never wanted the rule of the people. They want the rule of a few to subjugate the masses. so that the few can live in luxury as bloodsuckers of the poor. Democracy. It's the only game in town now. Democracy.